Hey, hello everyone. In today's episode, let's see how we can use ChatGPT to create Docker files. We'll start with a very basic example. We'll ask ChatGPT to write a Docker file for a simple Node.js application, and then we'll see what response it gives and how we can learn from it and how we can build on that. So let's start. I'll give an example prompt to ask ChatGPT to help write a Docker file and see what answer we get. So here we go. So based on my prompt, this is the response we got. Here is a sample Docker file from Node.js application, and as you can see, it is able to pin it to a particular version of Node, which is very good, best practice. And it sets the working directory as app, and it copies the package.json, and it runs the npm install, and then the command to start the application. So this is a very good example for a initial Docker file for anyone who wants to write a Docker file for a Node application, and also for junior engineers who are just starting their career, and they could take help from ChatGPT instead of going through the documentation. Of course, the documentation is a very good resource, but you can always reverse engineer yourself from here and start building the Docker file and then refer the documentation for more important resources. So let's say in this case, it has mentioned something called working directory, work dir. And if you're not clear, if you're not sure about what that is, let's try asking ChatGPT on how to explain us what work dir is. As you can see, we have an explanation over here. Work dir is a Docker instruction that sets the working directory for any run command entry point, and add instruction that follows it in the Docker file. Sets the working directory to /app, and then any subsequent instructions in the Docker file will be executed in the relative to this working directory. So it's basically like a simple example would be like a cd command in Linux, where you go inside a particular directory and you execute your commands or scripts within a directory. That's what we are also trying to do in the Docker file. So we set the work directory as /app, and whatever commands that follow this, we are copying inside this. It gets executed inside this /app directory. Now to this about Docker file. Let's see if it can help us give commands on expose. Let's say you have a web application and you wanted to expose it on a particular port. Let's see if it's able to build a Docker file based on this input prompt. Expose it in a particular, expose it in port 3000. Can you help with the syntax for the same in the above Docker file? So I'm basically asking it to help expose a particular port in the Docker file. So let's see if it's able to do that. So you can see it runs a build, it exposes port 3000, and then it runs, it executes a command, and also it is clear to specify to start the application in production mode, which is pretty clever because we have different ways of starting the application when we boot it up, and this is pretty neat from ChatGPT to give this kind of detailed output prompts for the input that we give. Of course, this is not a completely built Dockerfile. As you know, it has there's a lot more to a Dockerfile. You have multi-level builds, and we'll see more on that in future episodes on how we could ask ChatGPT to give examples on those. But for a simple example, and if you want to learn the syntax and understand what a Dockerfile is, I think this is a very good start to learn from ChatGPT. That's it for today's episode. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.